What's up everybody, D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla King of the Monsters news and updates. So yesterday, at least yesterday for me, two pieces of the soundtrack were released from Godzilla King of the Monsters, both done by McCreary. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to dedicate the whole video to it because I've been very vocal in the past about how when it comes to Godzilla, the music is really the standout for me. It's really what makes Godzilla so great. It's such a big part of my life, and the music is the thing that I'm most excited for going into Godzilla King of the Monsters. So I was all for it. Before we actually talk about McCreary though, I want to say that I've got the trailer 3, I guess trailer 3. I hate that people call it that. It's not really a trailer. It's the 5-minute IMAX preview. The music for that has been released. I wish I could pronounce it. It's probably like Nessum Dorma, something like that. I don't know. It's a really incredibly famous opera song, and it was used in the Godzilla King of the Monsters IMAX trailer, I guess. I actually haven't heard it in context of the trailer. Luckily, I've been able to avoid that 5-minute IMAX footage, but it has been released online, so I got a link down below if you want to go check it out. Anyways, Water Tower Music, which is Warner Brothers Music, dropped 2 songs from Godzilla King of the Monsters yesterday, and they are very interesting. The first one, which is presented to us by Michael Doherty and McCreary on Twitter and YouTube, is called Old Rivals, and the second one is simply called Godzilla, featuring a guy whose name I can't pronounce. What is that? Serge Tankian. Let's talk about Old Rivals before we get into Godzilla. Old Rivals, which is apparently the 9th song on the soundtrack, we'll go through the full soundtrack here in a little bit, appears to be the song that plays when Godzilla very first encounters Ghidorah in the movie, and we'll talk about why I think that here in a little bit, but that's what it appears to be. It starts out in a really cool throwback to 2014 with the same sound effect that we started the airport battle with, or Godzilla's reveal in the airport anyways. So we start out with that same sound effect, which ties it back to 2014 and also probably indicates that this is Godzilla's first appearance on land. Then you hit this really intense sounding portion of the soundtrack. Ifukube's Godzilla theme returns. It's kind of overshadowed by everything else going on. It doesn't get enough time to shine in my opinion because it is very cluttered. The song is a little too cluttered, and we'll talk about that. But the Ifukube Godzilla theme song returns. That's awesome. I am so happy to hear Ifukube's music back. Again, like I said, I think this is Godzilla's first fight with Ghidorah. This song is mostly composed of choir, strings, brass, and percussion, and they are all present all at once, which is a bit of a problem, as we'll talk about in a minute. I do find it interesting, the use of percussion in this song, especially considering the fact that they said they wanted to tie it back to Ifukube's music so much and they wanted it to sound like Ifukube's music, but Ifukube never overutilized percussion. It was always very background in his music, and it doesn't play a large role in the Godzilla franchise, percussion in general. I mean, you have Masaru Sato, who used a lot of it, and some of our later composers use quite a bit of percussion, but it's mostly been brass and strings. But I do find it interesting that this song, at least, makes quite a lot of use of percussion. When I say that Ifukube's theme was overshadowed in this, McCreary talked about Godzilla's theme in the movie, and he said, if we're gonna have Godzilla's theme, if we're gonna have these Ifukube themes or these Toho themes returning, we're gonna use them as the characters' themes. And so you'd think that they'd make it a full theme like he said they would. He said we're not gonna have a little teaser of the theme, it will be the theme. Granted, I understand that this is only one snippet of the soundtrack. There is still like 20 something other songs left for us to hear, and I guarantee that some of those other songs will feature the Ifukube music probably fairly untouched. This one's a little different because it's most likely the first use of Ifukube music, and they're just teasing it, and so I'm okay with that. But this does remind me a lot of Looking for a Truck from Ready Player One, in that it's got some classic Godzilla music in it, but that classic Godzilla music is a part of a much larger song, and it's a very, very small part. It's not the main focus. Unlike in Ready Player One, where Godzilla's theme song really gets to shine, this one is is overshadowed because there is a lot happening in this song. Like I said, you got percussion, strings, brass, and choir all going at once, and so you don't really get to feel the impact of Ifukube's music. That being said, I think this song overall is pretty cool. I will definitely have to see it in context of the film to see how it's used, but I do like how intense it sounds and how it does sound very heroic for Godzilla. I would imagine that he's about to get his butt handed to him by Ghidorah right after the song plays, but it does sound very heroic, and I like that. I like the feel of it at the very least. Again though, it's just a bit too cluttered. I'm not sure what it is. It might be the choir just chanting over everything. That might be what's throwing me off because I have that problem with the Godzilla theme song that we'll talk about in a minute. I really think it's just me being thrown off by the percussion, by the overuse of percussion, which I'm just not used to for the Godzilla franchise. That's not to say that I won't get used to it or that I think it's inherently a bad thing. That's just me saying that it's new territory for me that I'm gonna have to warm up to. And at the moment, I'm not 100% as into this song as everyone else. Other people I've seen say they cried when they listened to this music. People telling me I was gonna cry when I heard this song. And honestly, I thought it was good, but I just don't think it was as good as everyone else seems to think it is. And that's not a bad thing. That's just simply a fact. It is what it is, but it's not me saying that I'm disappointed in it or that I'm not excited for the soundtrack as a whole, because I absolutely am. It's just me saying that this one song doesn't stand out to me as much as I thought it would and as much as people told me it would. And that could just be because people overhyped it. When Kong Skull Island was in this same phase and we got The Island released, that was our first little bit of the soundtrack, The Island blew me away. I wanted to listen to that thing over and over and over again, and it's still an awesome song. This song, I think it's cool, but I don't have a huge desire to listen to it over and over again. I kind of do with the next one, but we'll talk about that. And so it is what it is. I mean, I'll have to hear the rest of the music. I'm very excited for the rest of the music, very excited to hear this particular song, Old Rivals, in context, but I'm not in love with it as much as everyone else is. Hello? We interrupt this video to go watch Avengers Endgame for the second time because it's an awesome movie. I'm gonna actually pause it here and then I'll pick up recording whenever I pick up recording, probably tomorrow, so I might wind up jump cutting into a brand new video, or a brand new look anyways. See you guys on the other side. You know, the wind was blowing today, and so it was messing up my hair, and I was like, oh, I know what'll solve it. So I just took a comb to it and just kind of blasted it all over to the side. But now that I'm sitting here looking in the camera, I'm like, my hair's a bit too long to be poofy anymore. So like at this point, I might as well go back to the flat down look, but we'll figure something out later. Right now, I'm just gonna record the second half of this video because I want to finish it up here because I've got things to do. So let's talk about Godzilla, the theme song, not Godzilla's theme song. It's just the theme song of the movie, I guess. So this is a cover song of a song written in 1977 by Blue Oyster Cult. It was actually written by Buck Dharma, who sang and performed the song. There's no way to top that because that original song from the 70s, it is classic, it's iconic, so good, amazing guitar riff. Everything about it is pure perfection. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. It used to be my favorite song ever. It's so much fun. I absolutely love it. It was remade in the 90s, I believe, for Godzilla vs. Mothra. That's what soundtrack it wound up on. So I believe in 1993. It was written in the 90s and it was done in Japanese. They did their cover of it, and it's okay. The cover's okay. But the original is just perfect. So then, when I finally get around to listening to this song, written for Godzilla King of the Monsters, sung by Serge Tenkin, with Bear McCreary doing the orchestra for it. First off, I didn't really know what it was when I started it, but once I figured out, I was like, oh my god, this is the Blue Oyster Cult song. I was so excited. It's so good to hear it back. We did actually hear this song play at one of the Comic-Cons. They played this at one of the Comic-Cons, I believe SDCC, throwback to June or July. July was when SDCC was, I believe. Throwback to July when I tweeted out that Michael Dougherty needs to put the original Blue Oyster Cult song into the movie. I said he needed to make it the end credits theme for the movie. It looks like that's what we're getting. Not that Michael Dougherty listened to my tweet, but it looks like that's what we're getting. It's 3 minutes 10 seconds long. It's the first song on the album, which I find very weird. I would have thought that it'd be the last song on the album or the soundtrack, because that's usually where these songs would go in. But if this is just how the movie's opening, I guess we're kicking off with one hell of a bang. It's not. This is going to be the end credits. I almost guarantee it. Okay, let's talk about this amazing cover of the Blue Oyster Cult Godzilla song. I don't love every aspect of it. There are things that I dislike about it, and I know everyone's like, how come D-Man has to complain about everything? You know, there are things that I dislike about it, but I am in love with this song. I said it in the other clip. I'm glad I said it there. I have been listening to this song on repeat. Like when I'm driving driving to school. Right now, sitting here, I've listened to it like 13 times. When editing, I listened to it. I'm so glad I mentioned that other clip that I want to listen to this song over and over again because it's awesome. And it made me want to go back and listen to the Blue Oyster Cult song over and over again. So I've just been listening to the different versions of this song over and over and over again. I just love it. All right, you start off with this one with a lot of really cool Japanese chanting, giving it like a big energy vibe. At first, I wasn't big into the Japanese chanting. It kind of put me off, but I've grown to love it. They're cheering Godzilla's name, and I believe Mothra gets a shout out in the song, and then they say some Japanese festival chant to get Godzilla all hyped up. Really cool. It's got a great guitar riff. Of course, it's taken from the Blue Oyster Cult song, but it's got a great version of that guitar riff. The orchestra and the brass especially make this song sound so epic. It's so cool with the brass and orchestra. The only thing that I dislike about this song is the singer's voice. I don't know anything about Serj Tankian. I don't know if this is how he normally sings, but I'm not a fan. He sounds too nasally, and my dad said it's almost like he's doing a parody of the original song. I wouldn't go as far as to say that, but it just sounds like he's nasally. It does get better as the song goes on. By the end of the song, he's singing and it's like full force, and it sounds like he cleared his nose. But the first half of the song, he just sounds a little bit goofy, and he'll never, ever be able to top Buck Dharma's version of the song. And I really hope I'm saying these guys' names right because I just don't know how to pronounce names, but I'm giving it my best shot. I will say though that there are two areas where this song outshines the original, and that's the "Oh no, there goes Tokyo." Oh no, there goes Tokyo. Is so much more epic in this version than it was in the original. And I also love the history shows again and again how nature points out the folly of man. The version of that makes it into this Godzilla King of the Monsters soundtrack is so cool. I cannot wait to hear that on the Dolby speakers in the cinema. That is going to be amazing. History shows again and again how nature points out the folly of man. But there, I'm done gushing about Godzilla, the song. Now let's talk about a Bear McCreary interview. There's nothing really to cover here, just a single quote where McCreary calls this Godzilla song, this Blue Oyster Cult song, his most audacious piece ever. He's saying it's really ambitious and very different from anything else he's ever done. He also said it was really hard to do justice to both Ifukube and Yuji Koseki, which is really important because that gives us confirmation on which Mothra's song we're going to hear. And also, it's multiple themes from Ifukube. So previously, Doherty has told us that we're getting Godzilla's theme song. As we'll see here when we talk about the soundtrack, there is more than that. But we also hear that Yuji Koseki's original Mothra theme, which is the one written for Mothra 1961, got the singing. It's the iconic Mothra song, will be the one heard in the movie. I'm a little disappointed that Sacred Springs is not the confirmed one that's coming back, Sacred Fountain if you go off the Heisei era, because that is my favorite Mothra song. That still could be worked into another piece, which would be amazing. But the Yuji Koseki Mothra song, if you're gonna go with the Mothra song, that's kind of the one to go with, because that is Mothra's iconic theme song. Everyone knows that one. That's okay. I'm okay with that one coming back. I'm curious to see if that means that there will be an orchestral piece or if it will be actual with singing. That'd be very interesting. I really kind of hope it does have singing because that song's always had singing. And if these other Godzilla songs are going to have chanting in Japanese, we might as well have the Japanese sing the song. All right, let's run through the entire soundtrack here. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because we haven't heard any of it other than these two songs, but we got the album cover revealed, which is just Godzilla firing his atomic breath into the skies. The poster, Godzilla King of the Monsters original motion picture soundtrack, written by Bear McCreary, is expected to release on iTunes on May 24th, 2019. Super weird. Usually these songs don't release until after the movie is out. I really don't know what the deal is with that. Yeah, usually the movie comes out and then the song is released on the day the movie comes out. So I would have thought that this would come out the 31st. Now this is only an expected release date, so it could be subject to change, and I would actually expect it to be changed. But at the moment, it says on iTunes that it's scheduled to come out on the 24th. All right, first song on the album, I'm very confused by. It's the Godzilla song by Serj Tankian. I would have put that as last because I almost guarantee that's the end credits, but it's okay. It starts out, kicks us off with a bang. We have Godzilla main title. I'm not sure what the main title will sound like for this movie. I would assume that that's not going to have any Ifukube music in it. I think that's just going to be the thing that plays over the montage at the start of the movie, like what always happens with, Project Monarch and Godzilla main title that came before it. Now, I do want to say a little bit of a spoiler warning here because this will give away some of the plot of the movie in terms of how things are structured. We have pieced this together on our own using the trailers, and it's pretty much fairly accurate to what I got in the All Scenes in Order, but we'll run through it here. I just wanted to give a minor spoiler warning for that. Starting out with memories of San Francisco, so it does seem like we are in fact going to be starting out with the flashback to the Battle of 2014. Next up is the larva, so we'll go right into Mothra. Welcome to Monarch. Not sure what the deal with that one is going to be. I would assume that's going to be an introduction to Kyle Chandler's character. Outpost 32 will probably be Charles Dance taking over Outpost 32. Icebreaker is very clearly Ghidorah being released. Rise of Ghidorah, obvious, that one is just Ghidorah breaking free. So I guess Icebreaker would be them setting things in motion. Rise of Ghidorah is Ghidorah's reveal. Old Rivals is going to be Godzilla's first confrontation with Ghidorah. Of course, we do hear, you know, the big epic moment 2014 build up as we just talked about, and then you hear the Ifukube stuff. The First Gods, I think that'll probably just relate to a monologue that Charles Dance will give. Rodan, so it seems like he's going to wake up shortly after Ghidorah's released. A Mass Awakening, that is crazy. Does that mean that the montage of monsters waking up is going to play halfway through the film? That blows my mind. I always thought that that would play at the very end of the movie, all those other titans waking up, but if it's called A Mass Awakening, it might happen sooner than later, although there are some other songs on the soundtrack that would suggest the monsters waking up as well, so I'm not sure about that. The One Who Is Many, you know, that's obviously Ghidorah, but I don't know what he'll be doing in that scene. Maybe that'll be him on the volcano. Queen of the Monsters sounds like Mothra turning into an adult. For Andrew, I think Andrew is Little Russell who dies. I think his name is Andrew Russell, so it'll be a throwback to him. Not sure how or why. Stealing the Orca, that'll probably be Millie Bobby Brown's character, Madison Russell, stealing the Orca. The Hollow Earth, again, that one sounds like it could be the monsters waking up all over the world. That would be a little bit more in line with what I'd expect. The Key to Coexistence, not sure what that would be. I think that will be Serizawa's big moment with Godzilla in the temple. Goodbye Old Friend will probably be, spoiler alert, if I had to guess, Serizawa's death, assuming he does in fact die in that temple. Rebirth will be the call to arms scene. Fog over Fenway, I'd assume is just Ghidorah attacking Millie Bobby Brown and Fenway. Battle of Boston, or Battle in Boston, will be the big ending fight. Redemption, probably Godzilla finally getting his payback on Ghidorah, most likely because Ghidorah's gonna whoop his butt earlier in the movie. King of the Monsters, that just sounds like the ending to me. There's the final battle is over, and now we have the song King of the Monsters play as the credits start to roll. Or actually, I'd assume that this plays right up until the credits roll, and then Godzilla Surge Tenkin starts. Next up, we have Ghidorah, which I think is just a bonus track. I like it, though. Ghidorah's theme. That very much implies to me that Ghidorah's Ifukube theme will return, which makes me very, very happy. And then the last one is 26, Mothra's song. Hell yeah. And again, that is Yuji Koseki's Mothra song. And that's the album. That's the full soundtrack. That's everything we got so far from the Godzilla King of the Monsters music. I'm glad I made this video a one-off because there was a lot to talk about here. I hope you enjoyed this in-depth discussion on the soundtrack. As I've said before, this is what I'm most excited for going into King of the Monsters, so it makes sense that I dedicate a full like 20-minute video to it. I don't think this actually wound up being 20 minutes, but it's close probably. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. D-Man out.